I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year.
So I'm going to take you back to last year, last September-ish or November, whichever one, when we constructed this hoop shed. It was originally built for my sheep, to have an inside structure to be able to lamb in and get out of the weather, essentially. We live in Minnesota, so weather can be something that you don't want to deal with, especially when there's new babies on the ground. So ideally what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that this hoop shed wouldn't decide to blow away in the wind. We get a pretty wicked northwest wind here, and boy, she kicks, like hauls the mail kicks. And we've had structures in the past that we've put up that don't last long. So I wanted to do everything that I could to pin this sucker to the ground and not let him go away. It is a hoop shed, so it is a temporary type structure. However, I wanted it to be as long-term temporary as possible. So what we did is we sunk in telephone poles about 4 foot in the ground, and then we gapped those with railroad ties. And railroad ties have creosote in it, so do telephone poles. So rotting factor wasn't really a big thing. And then we capped everything off with a treated 2x6x12 across the whole top to create a sill. Then we attached our hoops, like you see in the back of me, hoops all the way down to the 2x6x12s. And I'll show you that. But ideally what the situation was is to make sure that the sucker wasn't going to run away, because I don't want it to run away. I want it to stay where I put it. But we'll see how that goes. Last year it did really well, except for the front issues. And the reason it had front issues is because I created a gap with the hoop shed itself. It wasn't like a factory issue or anything like that. It was me being me and not judging the right type of situation. Had I done this differently, I probably would have, placed the hoop side itself more northwest. Instead, I tried to tilt the building just enough so that the corner would catch that really strong northwest wind, and I kind of failed. So, such be life, and then you learn new skills. But I will flip you around and show you the general construction of the base of this, and then we can kind of build on where I went from there, because I think it's important to start at the beginning to get to the end. Right here is the telephone pole, and then one piece of railroad tie along with another piece of railroad tie. Basically, these railroad ties go until they hit another one of these posts, and then either they get chopped off to fit the space, or they're at the end of the building. But we have a telephone pole on each end of the building, so at the starter feet of each end, and then one on different center posts than the other. So this one is here, the one on the other side is just up from this one, so it's not on the third hoop from the back, it's on the third hoop from the front. So essentially it'd be the fourth hoop from the back. And I try to do that to stagger the stability of this. And then we capped it all off with a 2x6x12 treated board, so that I could adhere all the things to that one board, and then attach my foot, attach my foot that you can't really see because it's dirty, and this is, like I said, a barn, so it'll be what it'll be. Attach my foot of this hoop and each one of these hoop sheds to this top sill, essentially rendering it Minnesota worthy, I was hoping. And it did a really darn good job. This is the back end of this same building, and you can see the gap between the top sill. Oh, I got a sheep trying to eat me. That top sill right there, which is supposed to be on the ground, and the actual ground itself. So you can imagine that you got a northwest wind. That sucker's going to whip underneath this tarp that comes right to the level of there. Come underneath that tarp and either rip off the tarp, rip something apart, or create one hell of a turbulent situation on the inside, which it did. And so I didn't want a turbulent situation in my hoop shed because the wind would come up underneath that tarp and it would settle right in the rafters up here, and then it would drop down and go straight over my sheep. And I had a few of them. I mean, we had a really nice winter last year. It was an epically nice winter. I don't think I've ever seen one so warm. But we did have a couple days, and of course, in those couple days, I had a couple used lamb, and that was brutal because it was chilly, about 12 degrees with a 50-mile-an-hour gusts, which made it about minus 36 in the wind chill. Not something I want baby newborn lambs to be dealing with. So to alter my situations and to change my prognosis for this year, because I doubt that we're going to have as nice of a year as we had last year, solid front. Let's try to figure out how to put a structure, permanent structure, and a very sturdy permanent structure in a structure that is, like I said before, temporarily, non-temporarily sort of permanent. Let's go. Let's figure this out. Easier said than done. There's schematics on the internet, Pinterest, those kind of things, but none of which are schematics that I needed for my specific application. It did give some ideas, but not quite what I was looking for, how I want to do it, and really what was going to work in the long run for what the goals and aspirations were that were stuck in my brain. Dangerous things. As some people might well know, you got an idea in your head, but you really don't know how to make it work. Well, this is my rendition of how to make it work. So ideally what you would do, there goes some snow. Bye-bye. See you later. That's how wet and sticky it is. It just slowly slides off. Yucky. So ideally what you want to do when you're building your solid front, and I'm going to tell you like I'm trying to tell you how to build it because I don't know any other way to do it. So you want to drill your holes for your 6x6s right here to effectively house your big opening doors. Bifold doors. Got a pin down here. Got a latch on the outside, which is actually over there. We're not done with construction yet, but it's going to work. I also opted for not putting a piece of OSB here because I wanted sunlight to come in. I know that it's north facing and it's not really going to push a heck of a lot of sun through it, but it sure makes it a lot lighter because when we started putting this up right here, it got dark in here, and the siding itself actually allows for a lot of light to come in, which is awesome, which is like something that I really, really love. But I wanted to keep that going because there's a whole lot of dark right there, and a little bit of light makes me feel happy. So a big window is, appropriate. You want to put a solid rim on the bottom. Now, these are not just one piece. These are individual pieces of railroad ties that are cut specifically to fit their application. I will walk you over and talk to you about this door. This door I did not build. This door I got secondhand from my dad a couple of years ago, and with a new paint job on the inside, she looks pretty damn good. This barn door probably predates me. So, it's like an heirloom, family heirloom, barn doors. So we're going to see if the light's going to hold up for me. I'm trying to finish up this video before it gets dark. It gets dark pretty early here now. So we attached our 2x4s to our hoop galvanized pieces that, they're pretty thick, guys. And I didn't really want to screw into them because I didn't want to mess with the structural integrity of the building itself. We wrapped this strapping that I believe is more for house piping and things like that. But if it works with that, it's going to work with this too. It keeps it nice and taut. What we did is we screwed this screw in straight and then the one on the opposite side of the board in at an angle to really draw this around and tighten it up, and it works really well. This is really, really sturdy. I can climb on it. I'm like $130 or something like that. So I don't think she's going anywhere. We had a pretty epic amount of wind and snow today, and it looked good. Like, very impressed with the build. We did these spaced out to try to make sure that our OSB pieces that we were going to cut and use coincided with the seams that would be there, and also to hold them sturdy and steady. These were $20 a sheet, and I think we used 1, 2, 3.5. I believe that half is probably because I made the wrong cut once or twice, but I became pretty anal retentive on measuring like 7 times and cutting once. So I got better as the project went on. We're not new to construction. We got to think it all out first. It's not our first trade, but it's fast becoming our second, I think, besides farming. But every good farmer can fix almost anything and at least do a great attempt at trying to build something. So we do our best at trying to accomplish the tasks at hand. It might mean learning a new skill. It might mean messing it up a time or 2 or 4 before you get it right. But it'll happen nonetheless, and you'll figure it out as you go, kind of like we do. I like to coin the phrase of we're a bit hodgepodge, and it might not look exactly the way I intended it to, but it's going to function the way I intended it to. So it's doing a rather good job. I'm going to walk forward so you can kind of get the grand scheme. On that side over there, there are a few more 2x4s, obviously, because there's no walk-through door on that side. There is a 4x4 placed as well, and that is toe-nailed to the bottom sill of the railroad tie. The same as with this side over here, around the side of the door. Because we don't have a door, it is a lot more of a gap to mess with. And there were a couple more pieces of OSB that had to be placed, which is why there's kind of a funky gap here. It's because my seam rode where I didn't think it was going to, and so you just patched her in. It'll work. It'll be fine. Same with this little hunky guy up here. It was a seam. I needed something to suck everything in, and it works. It might not look exactly perfect, but it'll do the job. And that's what we're trying to get done here, is get the job done. The job is and was to get a solid front on this hoop shed so that it stops the north and northwest wind from coming in, and give myself access to this building, both with a small door and 2 big ones, and then which allows us to effectively feed the sheep or clean out the barn, or, I don't know, like have a barn dance. You never know. It's really kind of a funky barn to have barn dance in, but I will tell you one thing. The cool thing about hoop sheds is when you have a light on the inside of them, either it be from like a solar light, a rope light, or this little guy that, this little guy that I tend to plug in on a regular when I'm doing chores in the dark, which is going to happen a lot more now than it would have earlier. It looks like a giant nightlight in your yard, and it is so cool. So cool. But that's kind of the rigmarole. I'm not going to put measurements and things in the description for the shed, because I feel that it's one of those things where you kind of got to figure it out for yours. This specific shed is a 20 by 30 by 12. 20 by 30 by 15. So there are no schematics for this build. I can help you out. If you need help, just throw me a comment in the comment section. It was a good thing to do. It was a really good learning experience. And sorry about my hand on the side. I have to continue this with my phone because my phone is like more winter weatherproof in Minnesota than the GoPro is. GoPro, you need to work on that. But the long story short is that this structure is going to do what its intended purpose is, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it performs. Plus, it's kind of pretty. We did a good job. Pat yourself on the back. Every once in a while, you gotta do that, guys. You gotta pat yourself on the back, because this was an epic build for us. Something out of nothing. Heck yeah. Well, like always, if you like what you see, please hit the like and subscribe. Please comment. I really do look forward to the comments. And hoop shed, solid front, check. Heck yeah, man. All right, well, you guys have a great night. Stay warm. Hopefully you don't get covered with snow. And, well, we'll check you later. Oh my.
I've seen a lot of
What's up, kid?
change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought